It's not going to work the way it's pointing at you right now. Let me try that. The light is green. Okay. How about this? Can you hear me now? All right, I'm going to hold it. Hello, everyone. Okay. Well, this is exciting. I'm going to reframe my fear into excitement. That's what I'm doing right now. This is very exciting. I'm so excited to be here right now. It's very good to be here and to see the people in the room and to know that there are just some people looking at me right now. So thanks, everyone, for coming. I hope that this will be a presentation that gives you some time to reflect on your own values, to get some information about strengths, and to also learn about self-compassion within the positive psychology model, and also with acceptance and commitment therapy is another model that we're working out of. So this is the second of the two-part series, the Passion, Purpose, and Play series. And I think Sophia did the one before. Maybe some of you saw that. This is a standalone thing, but and so we're going to also explore what passion, purpose, and play, what we mean by that. We're going to also be exploring that. So, all right, I'm going to hold this mic for 2 hours. That's amazing. Oh, awkward. What if I go here? This is better. Okay. How's it? Can you hear me now? No. All right. Okay. Well. How about now? Can you hear me now? Okay. All right. Here we go. All right. So I was going to play, just imagine that Happy is playing right now, but I think it's just challenging. You all know the song, but imagine Pharrell dancing and singing Happy. And you can sing it to yourself. One of the things I love to do within my sessions is use music, so I'm often pulling up my phone and playing songs. And so I hope to play some songs for us tonight, but we'll see how it goes. But just to recap, positive psychology, they talk about the formula for happiness, and we're exploring that together, TCS is. And the thing that there are 3 ways to happiness that they talk about. And the first is the pleasant life, and it just sounds just as it sounds. It's about having as many pleasurable possibilities in life. So having a really good meal, going to a game, going to a concert, hearing music. It's about fun, 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 and finding whatever's fun for you and trying to find that and amplifying that. The good life would be like the second tier, is about recrafting your work, your love and your friendships, your leisure, to use your strength and spend more time in your values. So this is a little more sustaining, sustains the level of happiness, and it's that experience of flow that they talk about in positive psychology, where time kind of stands still, where you're right in the present moment, just fully engaged in whatever you're doing. And then finally, there's the meaningful life, and that's about using your strengths in the service of something bigger than you are. So this is where your passion and your purpose come together. So your strengths, your values, and purpose come together. And that's what we're going to spend a lot of our time on tonight, is this meaningful life. We're kind of not going to pay as much attention to the pleasant life and the good life, and we're going to go more into the meaningful life. So Martin Seligman, the founder of positive psychology, he says just this: there are no shortcuts to happiness. And I mentioned this in my description of this. Like, my clients will just say, I just want to be happy. And we think it should just be so easy that we could find this happiness, but it's not. It takes work to be happy. And while the pleasant life might bring more positive emotion to one's life, to foster a deeper, more enduring happiness, we need to explore the realm of meaning. Without the application of one's unique strengths and the development of one's virtues toward an end bigger than oneself, one's potential tends to be whittled away by mundane, inauthentic, empty pursuit of pleasure. So, we can only take so much pleasurable things. And, it's like, if you love chocolate, you can only eat so much chocolate. And then, well, I know, you got to give a little space in between. But you're going to have to keep consuming more and more chocolate to get that same feel. So that's kind of the thing. So we're going to look at ways that we can keep that feeling of happiness in a more sustained fashion. So passion, purpose, and play. That's a committee. A group of us have been meeting and kind of playing with these themes and these ideas and really kind of working to get at what does this really mean? What are we aiming for? And Mary Oliver, one of my favorite poets, she has written this, what does it mean that the earth is so beautiful? And what shall I do about it? What is the gift that I should bring to the world? What is the life that I should live? I might change her shoulds. Uh-oh, there's something happening?
No, your audio is back. I think you must have twisted your head.
Oh, no twisting my head. All right. I'm going to look at you guys. Yeah, I'm like, should I look there or should I look here?
Point your back towards my
Okay. All right. Thank you. So as I was saying, this is from Mary Oliver. I don't know if y'all heard that online, but this just this quote, and you know, she has a lot of shoulds in there. So I would say, what is the life that I choose to live? And I think that's what we're asking. You know, what does it mean that the earth is so beautiful? What shall I do about it? What is the gift I choose to bring to the world? So what is it that you want to bring to this time that we have here together on this beautiful earth that we have? And I think that's the question that we're asking. We're asking that for the TCS clinicians, like, what are the gifts and your passions that you're bringing for your, and so I think our hope as we work with this passion, purpose, and play is that not only will we bring this to our clients, but that we as clinicians can live passionate and purposeful lives and playful lives, that we can have some fun, we can enjoy what we're doing, and that we can, by living that, we can also bring that and be more effective with our clients and also bring that to them. That would be the hope. Oh, and did I mention that I like facilitating things and I like having discussions, so if anyone has anything to say at any time, I would love to hear your thoughts and your feelings about this, because I am certainly not an authority on any of these things and have really been exploring these myself. So I would like to see this really, that we're exploring this together, all of this stuff that I'm bringing, and so I welcome feedback from everyone. Here is a quote. Purpose is the reason you journey. Passion is the fire that lights the way. Another way to say that, passion, the things you love to do. So what do you love to do? You know, singing, I love to sing. I love music. Doesn't mean it's my purpose, but I love to do it. and maybe some others like to enjoy that, but, you know, that's what I love to do. Purpose is where your passions and a way to help others, they meet. And you feel really good. That's usually the outcome. At times, you feel really good. And what we'll also discuss tonight is how living with purpose is not always easy and it's not always fun, but it is meaningful. And in the meaning, we can find happiness at times, and there's also a struggle. So when we talk about happiness, what I have found is, and I've read about this in my own personal experiences, is that we can't know joy unless we know sadness. And so when I hear positive psychology, I'm like, oh, positive psychology, like life isn't all that positive. So I'm like, why am I giving this presentation? but I think there's links. I mean, there's something about moving towards what brings us joy, and there's also something about staying with what makes us sad and honoring our sadness. And I feel like what I have learned and what I've read is, I'm not just making it up, but to the depth, and I tell my clients this all the time, the depth that you are able to hold your sadness is the depth to which you can feel joy. And so any kind of numbing that we do, if we numb one thing, then we numb everything else. And so that's what I try, and that's been the work I've had to do, is to not numb myself in the hard places that we work, you know, to stay present, to stay open, to be with the suffering that we see, and to hold that, and then also be aware and awake to the joy that also emerges in those same places. So just some more ideas on this passion and purpose. Passion can be selfish, purpose can't. You can pursue a passion for your own pleasure, and it can be purely self-indulgent. So I love to sing, but nobody loves to hear it. Okay? Purpose is not selfish. It involves serving others, but it's not servitude. It's feeling joyful about creating joy. It's about adding value in the lives of others while creating value in your life. So it's a win-win. So adding value in the lives of others while creating value in your own life. So as you live out your values and your deepest desires of your own heart, that adds value, hopefully, if you're connecting with a need in another, that adds value to their life. And so passion can be unbridled. Purpose is focused. So passion is boundless. You can have many passions. You can spend countless hours on them. And purpose is singular. To fulfill a purpose requires focus. It requires you choose. But the decision is an easy one when your purpose is compelling. So it's like, what compels you? What calls you to this work? What draws you in? And trying to land there. And you know, I was talking to a client today actually, and we were talking about meaning and what gives life meaning. And you know, she's 85, and she's like, yeah, my purpose has changed, my passions have changed. And so it does change over the lifespan. You know, that which a 12-year-old his purpose is way different than an 85-year-old. And how do we across the lifespan invite people to purpose? How do we keep inviting people to find meaning in their lives? And not give up on the meaning. Like to know, I don't know why I get emotional when I talk about meaning. And I think because I'm getting choked up. Because I think it's about heart. I think that's what we're talking about. I mean, we're talking about living with heart, living wholeheartedly, and we'll get to that a bit more. So we're talking about living wholeheartedly, and how can we do that, and how do we continue to do that? Any thoughts? Questions? Things that, okay, great.
We're on fire.
Okay, great. Okay, moving on. So with that, you know, so there's been a lot of talk about playfulness and like some angst around playfulness. Like, what does playfulness mean? What are you asking us to do? You want us to play? And we want us to play with our clients? Oh my gosh, I'm freaking out. And I freak out about playing. I'm like, oh my God, what does it mean to play? How do you play? I don't know how to play. So, you know, all this can come up. Words are very important. Language is important. And so language carries with it all kinds of ideas and assumptions. And so we wanted to help you understand a bit more what we mean by playfulness. And so I made this little word cloud. Thank you, Sophia, for reminding me of the word cloud. I just love these word clouds. So it's the fun thing to do. If you want to, once we look at strengths and values, you can put strengths and values into a word cloud for your clients, and it's just great. And it's a playful way to, what's that? Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So in the room here, Mary Fitzpatrick just said that her word cloud would be dirty. Hey, people online want to know why we're laughing. So we have a question for you too, Deanna.
Yeah, okay.
Jace is wondering if you can have purpose without the passion.
Good question. Can you have purpose without the passion? Oh, that's a good question. You know, I would have to sit with that. I'm not sure. So purpose is that focused intent. And what we're going to talk about with passion is that your strengths and values are focused towards that. So I would wonder, is that really your purpose? I don't know. That's a good question. I really don't know. Anybody else? So Stephanie says they're first cousins. Yeah, they're first cousins. My idea about passion is that it's what you love, and it also uses your strengths and your values. I don't know. I'd have to research it some more. If anybody has some ideas on that, you can let us know. Sorry, I don't have the answer.
Well, online, Sophia says that passion is the fuel for purpose. And Amy Hayner Depew says you can have purpose without passion, but not passion without purpose. So I'm thinking that it's possible, but you just wouldn't get very far. On which part? What Amy said? Amy Hayner Depew says that you could have the purpose without the passion, but not the passion without the purpose. And Sophia said passion is the fuel for the purpose. So, you know, there are lots of things that I want to do, like laundry. But if I'm not passionate about doing my laundry, guess what doesn't really get done very often? Yeah.
Well, and
So
there's
we've got people
purpose
echoing
and
that here in the room.
goals. Like there's purpose and there's goals and there's things like, is that your life purpose to do the laundry? You know, right. Like I don't. So maybe there's
That was a
something there.
silly example, but yeah, that's
Right.
the idea,
But
right?
that's the
But
idea.
some weird people are really into doing their laundry.
And
My cousin likes laundry so much that she folds her dirty clothes before she washes them. I know that's a whole separate category of things, but you know. Oh, she's very passionate. It's a purpose for her on a given day of the week, I'll tell you. You don't deviate from that.
well, and I think yeah.
All right. To me, when I hear purpose, I think that that is the meaning. Like you said, the meaning. And when I hear passion, I think of energy and enthusiasm. So I think of passion, I think of more like the arts, like somebody has to play music, so I'm not musical, like somebody has to play piano or they have to do this, they have to, like they can't not do it, they're so passionate, it just, all their life energy is in it. But I think you can have purpose, and I think it could be more of a commitment, that's more with your values. Your values give something purpose. I believe in this, therefore I do it because I think it's a good thing to do. I want to be involved in saving the planet, so I'm going to go and pick up trash at Wynwoods for hours. Am I passionate about it? I don't know if I have that enthusiasm, but it might suck. But I'm doing it because I believe I should do it, and because that is the reward. I know I'm living according to my values, and that is the reward.
Yes.
So I feel good about it, but I may not be passionate about it because sometimes I might just not even want to get up and do it, but I make myself, it's like so it's a commitment. So you do it without enthusiasm, but to me, passion has enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Wait, Julia. Well, you already said that passion can be unbridled, like listening to your music, and purpose is more focused, like kind of, I don't want to use the word rein in because we're talking about passion, but trying to funnel that into something purposeful. Right. Yeah. Chris Killian just said that purpose focuses passion.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. That's a great way. Yeah. And as you can see, like these are kind of abstract, nebulous. I mean, when I was doing the research for this, like I was like, everyone has different thoughts and feelings and ideas around, and so we're in the process of discovering, and I think it's like this, we're aiming for something. I think it's a felt sense sometimes. It's what we're aiming for, and right. Right. And when I read, it was something that was like, that we can catch our passion can lead us to our purpose, and sometimes our purpose can lead us to our passion. So I don't know if it's like you discover more about as you experience life, and that's kind of like playfulness. Like the more playfulness is about experiencing life. It's about experience in the moment, possibilities. It's like besides experience, in a playful way, experiencing life. And through that, we can learn, well, what do I love? What gives me joy? What makes my life worth living? And I think that can lead us to, purpose. So these are great conversations, and I hope we keep having these conversations and keep exploring these. I do want to just keep moving a little bit, and again, I want to highlight the playfulness thing. So it's about creating, connecting. It's meaningful. It's not just board games. It might never include a board game, especially when we're talking about being with your clients. We're not expecting or asking, and all of this is an invitation also, I might say. There is no expectation that anybody does anything with any of this stuff that we're putting out there. But it is an invitation to kind of hold these questions, to hold these themes and these ideas. And if they work for you, if they resonate with you, to have the freedom to explore them, both personally and in your work. So again, with playfulness, it's like innovative, it's eclectic, it's showing up, it's being creative. And so that's a big thing, that being creative. And Dave Turner just walked into the room. So it's very experiential, this playfulness. And so I would focus on the creativity, So like we look at the counseling process as creative. And so when we're saying playfulness, we're saying be creative, have fun, enjoy what you're doing.
Barbara Stickle says that Sophia mentioned last night that humor is part of being resilient. Playful humor is one way to be playful in conversation.
Love it. Okay, anything else? You're resilient? Yes. That's awesome. Being playful, having fun, using humor. I love humor. That's one of my top signature strengths is humor. So I try to use that often because it helps me to de-stress actually. And you'll learn more about strengths here in a minute. Any other thoughts? I'll keep moving. Okay, next up, here's our first video. So this is a little bit about purpose right here, and for the people online, what did we decide? I think maybe I turned this on. Okay. Okay, and I turn this on. Oh, something else is happening. Okay. So just take a moment to be with that video and what you experience when you see that video. Yeah, so just check in with yourself. I just love Maury. I don't know Maury, but gosh, and if I think about being able to do anything or be a part of someone's life, I don't know how Maury came to be knitting hats, but I think when we think about engaging people in purpose, like Maury is a great example of what possibilities could be. Someone, gosh, I'm crying again. I'm like, ay, ay, ay. We have possibility to engage people in a very purposeful way, with intention, and and not everyone is going to be knitting hats. So purpose for people is going to be across a spectrum. Not everyone's going to be doing what Maury does, but we're going to share some examples of purpose from clients that we have, and just to get you thinking of like, okay, how can you engage people in finding purpose? Not only your own, but your clients.
Online, Jacqueline Bowerman said that she thinks this is such an important key concept for those of us working in long-term care because so many of our clients have been exposed to the traditional counseling model, which can stigmatize them and reduce their willingness to participate. Mm-hmm. So engaging them in this way is just a whole other thing.
That's great. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it's really helpful. I know I've had great success when I try to get at this purpose. What's your purpose and how do we move forward in finding purpose and not looking at the deficits and the deficits alone. Like transforming the loss into action, maybe that's part of it. So let's see. Anybody else? Questions, thoughts? So this is just, again, trying to get at what purpose is about. So in a focused way. It's about you love it. Hopefully you love what you're doing. You're great at it. You've got some strengths to apply to it. The world needs it. It's meeting a need, and luckily we're paid for it at TCS. If you are, if this is your purpose, if you see your work as your purpose, ideally this is all these circles would be you'd be engaging with these. So that was just a little something there to help us, again, unpack what it means to live with purpose. So here are some real-life examples, and I don't have any real-life examples of passion and purpose related to young children or any children at all. These are all adults. So if people online have any examples after hearing these about engaging your clients with passion and purpose and playfulness, or strengths and values, we'd love to hear those. And so I'll just share a couple that I have. This is the most recent one. I'll call her Judy. Judy, we did a Judy Jive. Judy is like 55. She had a brain aneurysm and a stroke. And her husband died a year and a half ago. So I'm allowed to share this. I changed her name. Yeah, I'm allowed. I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm like, am I allowed to do this? So Judy loves to play music. And so she has an iPad, and she plays music all the time. And she can move her shoulders, and she can sing, and she knows every song. So we put Pandora on, and she sings. And it's amazing what comes up in the session, like talking about just showing up in the session, what songs will come on, like it will directly relate to what we're talking about. And you know, and so we take her, what are you experiencing with this song? How are you feeling with this song? And what does it bring up for you? And they often bring up memories, and they often bring up the grief around the loss of her husband, and where she is living in a nursing home at 55. And so what we did, and this I got because I was thinking about passion and purpose. I'm like, well, Judy, you love music. What can we do? And so we created this thing called the Judy Jive, and we just had our first one on Monday. And what we did is she wrote a little speech. So she has some speech problems, and memory problems, but we wrote out what she wanted to say, and we made flyers, and she passed out the flyers at lunch to different clients. And then on Monday, I got with her, and we reviewed her strengths. So we've done some strength stuff, we've done some value stuff, all of this to lead to this. So it wasn't just like, hey, I got this great idea. We really explored her strengths and her values. So I forgot that part. We explored those things, and then we created this program, the Judy Jive. And so what happens at 9:45 on Monday mornings is we take her iPad out with the speaker, and she gave her speech welcoming everyone, and she named her strengths, and she said how much she loved music and she wanted to share it with everyone. And we played music, and she sang, and it was amazing. It was like, I felt like we were on Ellen. You know how Ellen dances? Soon staff members were coming out dancing, and they were loving it. And you know, the residents were all gathered around, and they were singing, and some were just there, but you could see them. I would go up and again, I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be going up to other residents, but I did, and so maybe I'll be in trouble later. But I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. And I had asked Judy, I was like, is it okay? Because people might know I'm a counselor. I didn't announce that to anyone, but I was like, is it okay that I'm going to come out here with you? And she said yes, and it was just so much fun, and she was beaming the rest of the day, and so that felt like a real life example of like, yeah, this is what passion and purpose can look like, because she has not had much passion or purpose or love, and again, it just got her outside of her grief and her loss, and you know, she could contribute. So I think that's one thing. She was contributing to the needs of her own community, the community that she finds herself in. So that's one of my favorites. From another clinician, this is about Susie, who was in her early 50s, was dying of lung cancer. She was in constant pain, and the only thing she could do to take her mind off the pain was watch the Cartoon Network. And so I'm just going to read what this clinician wrote. As I got to know her and she became comfortable with me, I learned that she had always wanted to be a teacher because she was a born helper. She never finished high school as a result of a tumultuous early life, which led to a chaotic adulthood. She lamented the fact that she was never able to interact with others in a helpful way. The more we examined this regret, the more ideas she had. She began to generate creative, positive ways to have those interactions in her everyday, in her long-term care facility. She began visiting fellow residents, all all the day, every day. She would ask permission to sit with them. If they said yes, she would initiate a conversation, asking them about themselves and about their lives. She reported back to me on a weekly basis about people she'd met, friendships she forged, the stories she heard, the songs she sung, the memories she listened to, and the prayers she prayed, all with her peers. And the amazing thing about this entire experience for her was not only that it was conceived and motivated by my client, but that she told me when she was interacting, praying, singing, talking, or reminiscing with fellow residents, she wasn't thinking about her pain. She literally felt better when she was connecting with others. So that's from another clinician here. Again, just, thinking outside of the box. What can we be doing to engage people in their strengths, their values, their passion, their purpose? Or to re-identify. What is, my old identity is gone, my old purpose is gone, there's a lot of loss. How do we, re-engage life? How do we find meaning today? Anything from our folks there? Anybody got any ideas?
I've shared this before, I think, but over the years I've thought and proposed on a couple of occasions that perhaps a group of long-term care residents on a common unit or wing devote a 50 cents or $1 a month to a common, I'll say, cause, a common kitty, such that they can sponsor a child from, Save the Children or Reach, or there are a number of organizations that do this, and literally have the picture of the young child displayed on the unit. Perhaps there are opportunities to write the child during the course of the year. There would be an opportunity to kick in an extra 50 cents a piece or so around the holidays to buy a gift. But I've often felt that if cumulatively a group of older adults still felt they had someone dependent upon them for their well-being, that it would be essentially a reason to live, a reason to continue on. I think that when we get to a point where we feel no one needs us, that's at the core the essential loss of purpose. Also, I've thought that we might involve 2 nursing homes sort of collaborating in such a way that a group of residents in one nursing home write and form pen pal relationships with a group in another. It's something, if they were reasonably close, could be the letters could be transported by courier, in essence, so there'd be no postage costs. And over time, relationships would develop that were ongoing and that hopefully also engender the sense of commitment to one another and relevance and importance. Because I don't know, particularly I think for people about my age and older, there's nothing quite as cool as getting a letter and open it up. I mean, we don't save emails, at least not in the traditional sense, but I think many of us have old cards or letters and things at home that we've kept from friends, and something like that I think could be real meaningful too. And it would be almost no cost in the latter instance, and a very minimal cost relative to sponsoring a child.
I love those ideas. And I think, and I imagine, as we start, you probably coming up with ideas or thinking, well, that's what we'd like you to do. Pause, reflect. What's a real life experience of engaging your clients in passion, purpose, and playfulness? Or maybe it is, what could be? What are the possibilities? I mean, Dave just gave a great couple examples, and I wonder if there could be a way for us even to collect or just start sharing ideas, like a brainstorming, just sending ideas, like, here's a great idea I thought of to engage my client in passion and purpose, or start sharing those stories together, whether it's long-term care or with young children. I think there's definitely ways for children to live with purpose and meaning, living out their values and their strengths, and starting that. Okay.
Jacqueline Rose says that she's always said the best cure for depression is to get the client to do something for someone else. And they get so into it that they forget to be depressed. And I think Dave's idea is great.
Yeah.
Yes, almost like he should like run a company or something. He says there is so little they can do in the nursing home, but collectively, ... So that's what Jacqueline Rose shared. And then we've got a longer reflection here from Sophia. She says that she had a 10-year-old client who had a 7-year-old sister who was diagnosed with cancer. He was scared but never wanted to show it to his little sister. He loves superheroes, so he made her a cape, and his mother helped him make one for the nurses, so they were a superhero alliance. And he used his passion for superheroes to help his sister overcome her fear, and then also helped alleviate his worries as well, knowing that superheroes were taking care of her.
Wow.
And that's like a really cool example.
Yeah.
And she says that she sure misses that kid.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So it's pretty great that we have. I'm like, what a great job we have, people. Isn't this awesome? I'm getting re-inspired. And I think that is the key here. I think that's what we're going to get to is like by living with passion and purpose, you can be re-inspired. And for me, it's taking time to reflect on those meaningful moments. I remember when I started thinking about this again, and I was like, passion and purpose. When have I done with this with a client? And I came up with an idea from an experience from a client from 3 years ago. And I tell you, it just like, I was like, it filled my heart and it energized me. So I think there's something, and this is part of positive psychology also, just a side note, is this idea of savoring. So taking time to reflect on our days, to recall those meaningful experiences that we have with a client and to kind of relive those. Like, it was great for me and just like telling that story about Judy, like right now I'm like, oh my gosh, that's great. There's something about living from your strengths and your values and your passions that actually is enlivening, and it can recharge us and it builds the resiliency, so it can awaken in us more energy. And so I think really to take time to do that, maybe once a week, that's a practice I've been trying. And I know Tom mentioned in his presentation, Tom Eckert, that last week, this idea of like having a ritual. And so one of the rituals I've been thinking about is like there's just this simple thing that you can do in like 5 minutes. This is a total side note, but 5 minutes, and hopefully you find it helpful. But is like, and you can do this like at your lunch, or and then you can do it at your end of your day. And it comes out of this Ignatian practice called the Examine, but they've adapted it in companies. And what you do is first you start with gratitude. So you try to find something you're grateful for, which is a very positive psychology thing. What are you grateful for in the last 3 hours of your day? Finding something you're grateful for. Second, connect with your values. Remind yourself of what your purpose is, what you're about. And so we're going to have some things later today that'll help you connect with your values so you can remind yourself. I don't have my binder here, but in front of my TCS binder that I take with me in my facilities, I have my mission statement written out. So when I'm feeling stressed or I need a break, I can just look at my mission statement and remind myself, okay, what are you about? Why are you here? Kind of thing. And it gets me kind of out of my thoughts and back into the present and reminding me about what I'm about. So first, it's gratitude. Second, it's reconnecting with your values or your mission. And then third, it's okay, what do I want to take from this experience that I've just had? What do I want to shift or change or re-engage? So, what did I learn from the last 3 hours, and how do I want to take this forward? And so maybe that's something that would work for you. It's just an idea, a simple idea, I think, to kind of keep the energy flowing throughout our days. So that's an idea. Random, but an idea. So thoughts, questions? I'll keep moving. Okay, great. So next up, strengths and virtues. Okay, so this is, I'm loving this stuff. It's exciting. It's great when you do a CEU because then you get to learn. I'm really happy. So I've been exploring with my clients and with myself what it's like to live out of your strengths and your virtues. And so that's what we're going to explore next.
There are a few things here.
Okay. I'm sorry, I missed them because there's a lot going on in this little tiny text box. So let's see. Jacqueline Rose says, this week I've been making Valentines with my kiddos for a boy recently diagnosed with cancer. He is going to miss his kindergarten Valentine's Day party, so his mother is collecting Valentines for him to open. She hopes to get 1,000. Many in the school were making them. So that's probably given a lot of purpose to those kids. Yeah. And then Dee Boffman says that She has a client, 82 years old. She missed teaching Sunday school, so together she worked with the activity department to hold a weekly Bible study group. She prepares during the week, and she loves leading this group. She also shared in session about how this has given her meaning to her life again.
Awesome. Oh.
And that's my fault. I forgot to move the camera.
Oh, that's
Thanks, Jacqueline. Sorry. Too much multitasking.
Anything else? I can move on. Okay. Thank you for those sharings. Again, I just invite people to continue to share those wonderful things that are happening. I mean, I think it's really enlivening. It's enlivening for me to hear, and I think it can keep us energized. So next up, so this notion of character strength and virtue. So this is very much a positive psychology notion that living out of our strengths makes us happier. And it's something that we all have. So character strengths are positive, morally valued traits of personality. I hope we're going to unpack this a bit more to make it less technical. What are you good at? Virtues are the core characteristics of character valued by religious thinkers and philosophers. And they talk about them. The 6 virtues are wisdom, courage, humanity, justice, temperance, and transcendence. So I'll just be honest, I am in the process of discovering what strengths are and how we use them, particularly in this model. And this Martin Seligman, so this VIA Institute on Character is here in Cincinnati. And the exciting part is, can I tell them? We're gonna be doing strengths at our staff day, and just had a really exciting conversation with the director of education at the VIA Institute, and I've just been exploring it myself and exploring it with clients, and have had some great conversations about strength. So I'm going to invite you to explore strengths yourself, but I'm going to give you a little bit of the research that I do know, and we'll go with that. Okay, I'm just saying I'm not an authority on it. I'm not an authority on much, except but okay. Anyway, so why do I need to know my character strengths? It's not just interesting information. When skillfully applied, can have a positive impact on your life. So it shows you can buffer against, manage, and overcome problems, improve your relationships, enhance your health and overall well-being. So those are great things. And so these are the strengths that this particular survey looks at. And so the top areas, wisdom, courage, humanity, temperance, justice, transcendence, those are the virtues. Those are kind of like, those are values in some ways, but they're virtues, values. And then so they have them in these little boxes because, like, so if you look under wisdom, creativity, curiosity, love of learning, judgment, and perspective, those are all things that they say lead you to living with wisdom. So if you cultivate those strengths, they say that you'll be living out more wisdom. Like, so the more that you engage with those, the more wise you're going to be. And the more, like, for courage, the more you engage with bravery, perseverance, honesty, and zest, the more you grow those, the more courageous you're going to be living your life. You'll be living out those virtues that folks say, religious thinkers and philosophers say, will make you happier. And the way the test runs is like I think it takes like 10 minutes, and so this is for youth and for adults and for people with disabilities. So it covers all our people and ourselves, because we're adults. So it's good. We're covering our bases. And it's free. So this is the great thing. It's also free, and you can get all kinds of reports about it. But so I'm going to give you more research. So strengths with clients. So you can read these, but I'm going to kind of read with you. So this is a study of older adults, 59 to 70. The group assigned to work on using signature strengths in a new way was the most effective intervention overall, as it led to both increase in happiness and decreases in depression. So I have done a handful of these strength surveys with a few clients. And what we've done is we list their top, so it gives you a report of all 24 strengths, and then you have your top 5, which are called your signature strengths. And your signature strengths are the ones that come the easiest to you, and they are the most life-giving, most energizing kind of strength. You feel most alive when you use these strengths, and it's like a no-brainer. It's like, of course I'm funny. Of course, that's my top strength. Um, so that wasn't that funny, sorry. but it actually can increase and decrease to Russian. So what I've been doing is we list them, so we do our little survey. We list their top 10 strengths, and then we hang them up, and I invite them, like, so we review, what strengths did you use this last week? We start out looking at strengths. What did you use this week? And then another way is like, okay, they've got a problem. What strengths can you use to help solve this problem? What could you use to help you get through this problem? And then like this intervention was to just pick one strength, and so I did that today, pick one strength, and what do you try and use this strength all week? So you keep coming back to this one strength. So which one did I use? So what I told Stephanie the best day of my work life was I chose creativity as my top strength, and like every session was about creativity. And so we were playing music, we were doing art, and we were coming up with passion and purposeful ideas for all of them. Like every client, I was like on fire. I was like, we are being so creative, people. And it was just so much fun. I had so much fun. I mean, so I was like, this stuff works. And so it's been fun to explore. At least it's working for me. Maybe it'll all die out, but for now, I'm like, it's working. That's my little pessimistic side. But right now, if I keep energy going towards my strength, it seems to be working. So among youth, use of signature strengths in a novel way, along with personally meaningful goal setting, so this is connecting to purpose, it increases in student engagement and hope. So I think that's a great thing, increasing engagement and hope. The third one, focusing on a therapy client's strength for 5 minutes prior to a session. And I loved this one. So focusing on a client's strength for 5 minutes improves the therapeutic relationship, therapy outcomes, mastery experience, and strength activation in the session. This made so much sense to me. In another realm, like with couples counseling, there was this thing called flooding, where you just flood your partner with good things about them. And this is what this feels like to me. It's like we're flooding our clients with their goodness. And like when you're just kind of bathing in your strengths and your goodness, I think it's really powerful. There are some weird things going on over here. So I'm slightly distracted. I'm like, what is that? There's chocolate. They're engaging in the pleasant life right now, which is very appropriate. So again, so these are just ideas, once you find out what your client's strengths are, take time just to like, and it is, I can definitely see a shift in my clients as they're looking at their strengths. It's like, and so I do a lot. The way I started out is I was doing a lot more with values. And so I would do the same kind of stuff with values. I would do like a values inventory with my clients, and we'd do their top 10 values, which are a lot of the same things as the strengths here. And I would say, how would you feel if you could wake up every day and be about these things? And they were like, the smile, there would be a lightness that would come over them, because it's like, yeah, I want to be a compassionate person, and I want to be funny, and I want to play, and I want to, love my friends, and I want to have family. And it's like, those are the kinds of things that we're looking at. It's like, how do we help them have a vision? Yes, Stephanie.
So will you explain, you don't have to do this now, but will you explain how you identify your clients' values in their top one? Like,
yes,
how you go through that?
Yeah, I will. Okay. That'll be next up. Yeah, so we'll get to values.
And Chris Killian added that most of the clients he's done that with, the strengths, they've been surprised that they have their strengths, which, Chris, I'm pretty sure he works in long-term care, so that's pretty remarkable. Somebody gets that far in life and doesn't realize what their strengths are, so what a gift.
Right, that's great. Love it. I was surprised at my strengths. I was like, oh, I do that. And when we were talking to Ryan from the VIA Institute, he was saying that. He's like, people they haven't named them. Like, it makes sense, but they're like, oh, yeah, a little light bulb goes in when you name it. So, and that's what the strength survey does. It helps to name them. So now for ourselves as clinicians, strengths in the workplace. So these are just some interesting facts. Employees who use 4 or more of their signature strengths had more positive work experience and were more likely to consider their work as a calling. Oh, and Dave's going to say something. So, oh no, go right ahead.
I was thinking about Chris's experience, and I was thinking that the concept of strengths, on some level in my mind, is related to output or to purpose. And I think that we can appreciate our strengths when we see their product. And perhaps what's lost in the transition from the community to long-term care is product. I think because we no longer have output, we lose sight of the fact that we have strengths. And if one, I imagine this is a chicken or egg kind of thing, but either if you can affect output or draw attention to the continued existence of strengths, you begin that cycle of recognition and ultimately both recognition and output. I do believe the transition from community to facility and long-term care and sort of the redefinition of oneself as a patient inherently for a period of time denies a purpose. The purpose of a patient is to be acted upon. And to the extent that that can be reversed, or that the strengths can be recognized in the context of some future purpose or some current purpose, I think that changes everything. And I was struck by Chris's example. I don't think people don't lose their strengths when they go into long-term care. They very often lose their ability to affect the community. And I think when that's lost, a person's self-awareness of his or her strengths is lost.
Nice. Thanks, Dave. Great. I'm going to keep moving. I so appreciate everyone's feedback, and I just love the conversation that we're having, and so I can't say that enough, so thank you. You can read this, but using strengths in the workplace help us to see work as a calling. So even being intentional, it's like one of my top strengths is, because I was like, well, how do my strengths? So again, I've been playing with this. One of my top strengths is spirituality. And so I was like, okay, when I'm walking around the facility today for 45 minutes and no one is awake, I'm like, seriously? I got here at 9:15 and no one, well, you know, of course no one's awake, but I thought maybe today would be different. I don't know why. But I did have that. I was just kind of like, okay, spirituality, what could you do to engage your spirituality? And so then I did like a little mindfulness walk around the facility and just kind of tuned in to where I was at and what was going on, and kind of send some loving kindness out. And I was like, well, that is one way to be with this. So again, it's just getting creative about using your strengths and making, because normally I was slightly annoyed with like 45 minutes. I've not seen anyone yet. But it's like to shift that, like, okay, so strengths can get us out of the negative gunk that goes on in our head, you know, like it was like, okay, how can you use a strength here? Begrudgingly or whatnot, but it was like a good way to, you know, make the morning better. So regardless of which character strengths are used, the congruent use of strengths in the situational circumstances at work, it's important for fostering job satisfaction, pleasure, engagement, and meaning in one's job. So the more we use those strengths, the more meaning we find in the work that we do. It helps with improving coping with work stress and decrease the negative effects of stress. So Lord knows it's stressful, the work that we do. So if we can use our strengths, it can help us build the resiliency. And it's connected to well-being. I'll just leave it there. Like, we're moving on. Y'all feel good? This is good? We're okay? We'll keep going. Okay. So, and this is in your, like, I think I did, like, handouts. This is in there. So this is a strength spotting card sort. So this is from Louise Hayes and Joseph Sirachi. These are acceptance and commitment therapy clinicians, but also, so there's this tie between acceptance and commitment therapy and positive psychology. It's kind of this, they cross over in some ways. And so they have this strength spotting card. And this is particularly for adolescents. And so, again, this is similar to what I've done with my, and I think you could use this for older adults too. You can get creative with these, but the process is with this is that, you know, you can look at what strengths did you use this week, and you can also have conversations about challenges they're facing, what strengths would help you. And I've seen it, what I've read in the literature is that if you have access to children or other adults, you can ask, like they can have buddies, and like so one buddy can be looking for the strengths in another buddy, and like these are the strengths that I saw in you today. Kind of that's this character education that's happening in schools, and there's some great stuff that's happening with strengths in schools. So there's more there. Yeah, yeah, that's great. So someone just said pair chair. I don't know if you heard that, but that'd be a great thing to do in a school setting. Okay. And so then again, this is just more of the same. And these are just great strengths for myself to be looking at. I'm like, when was I courageous today? Right now. I know, I'm afraid, but I'm going to do it anyway. Oh, here, this is the survey link, so you'll have this, and so you can do this with your clients. Again, it's open to, I don't do it so you feel comfortable. I don't know if there's any things you have to be worried about using strengths. Maybe you should make sure you're comfortable with it yourself. You know, do what you need to do it with integrity. So for your clients, one of the things that I talk with them about is like it requires that you use an email address. And so some of our clients don't have email addresses. Some of them don't want to disclose an email address. So you can use a fake email. I called via character and they said use a fake email. So johnsmith@johnsmith.com. You just have to make sure that you decline email follow-ups. That's what they ask. There's a little checkbox. So decline that. But you can do that with them, and then it'll give you a report. Unfortunately, you probably won't be able to print the report. I don't know how you'd be able to save that. Yeah, go ahead. Okay. I can.
I'm going to get back to my spot. I don't know if this is possible. If we created I'm not familiar with the login, but assuming for the moment you identify the client on the login, if we created an email that said via@counselingsource.com, all of these could come to a central email address. We could print them out for you, run a PDF, and scan and email them back to you.
There is.
Well, that's true. I mean, or you could put right. Or one could put, if we could work through this process such that there was an email, default email address, so it could be sent to the office. We could check it every day, print it, and then by virtue of the information there, scan it and email it to the clinician involved.
I think this is a possibility. There might be another possibility because there is a place for professionals to have a site where you can send a link. Or we can work some stuff out. I think we can. Okay, so you can play with it if you want to right now, and we'll do some research, I guess is what we're saying. We're going to figure out ways, like Dave just said. That might be the one way we can do it, is to set up a way that we can do a TCS one. Because we are going to collect data, so we invite you to do it as your leisure with your clients if that feels good to you, but then also for TCS clinicians, we invite you also to take the strength survey. And but we'd like you have to do it. We want to collect the data of this, and so there are capabilities within their survey to collect data, and that's what we're going to do. So you're going to take the survey, and after you complete the survey, you'll go to a demographic page. It'll come up, and the first question is, are you participating in a research study? You're going to say yes, and then 2 new fields will appear, and you will enter TCS 2017. In the field of the left for the research ID. So it's TCS 2017 in that research ID. So this will allow us to anonymously collect the data of the TCS strength. Yeah. As a group, we're going to have a sense of what strengths we all have as a group. So that's good. And your identity will not be revealed. And when they were also saying, do not purchase any reports at this time, we're looking at or just don't purchase them. Unless you really want to. But
I'd say don't purchase them right now because we probably will later. But I'd like to add that Deanna got all this to work in less than 16 hours. Like, this is a lot of work to get us an account like that. So thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. Thank you. So invite you to play around with your own strengths. Maybe that would be the way to do it first. That's what I did. I was like, oh, well, that's strength, and see what comes up for you. And again, we're going to be exploring this more at our staff day. So we're going to get a lot more training in this area, and I think we're going to hopefully get some good things happening. Okay. All right. How's everybody doing? I'm doing good. Of collecting the data? Great. Awesome. Yay. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Let's take a moment. Everybody. Dance break. Next up. I know we can take a stretch break, everybody. Go grab a drink, everybody at home. I was talking with Tom Eckert. You can drink your Manhattan now, Tom. Is Tom even on there? Hi, Tom.
Stephanie Ryan says it's time to get more ice, Dave Abbott.
Okay. So next up, this notion of values. And so, again, my theoretical orientation has been around acceptance and commitment therapy, which is highly connected to values, values-based living, and it's all about living a rich and meaningful life. And they do something, they're not all about happiness. They talk about the happiness trap, like this, keep pushing for happiness and you will not find it. And like that's this idea that happiness, it's kind of a myth, the myth that you can be happy all the time. We know this, right? Like you cannot be happy all the time. And so with having that expectation that we should be able to be happy all the time gets us in trouble. And I find that those are people that live in Florida. My mom lives in Florida, and she is like the happiest clam I know. I'm like, she's so happy. Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. We're talking about geographical locations of living and where you're happiest. So Florida, Hawaii, you might be able to have a higher percentage of happiness. Although they have a lot of traffic. So again, you can't be happy all the time. That's what we're coming to. And cost of living is very high too. So stay right here in Ohio, and we're going to focus on what really matters. The crowd is going a little crazy in here, okay? So anyway, so what really matters? So, and this is like what I like to call wholehearted living. Brene Brown, probably have heard of her. But I think there's a lot of connected here. So values are like our heart's deepest desire. I think that's why they make me cry when I think about this, because it comes from the heart, and it's a life direction, an internal compass which guides us throughout life. So it's a way of orienting ourselves. And so again, like I said, I came from this acceptance and commitment therapy is kind of how I orient myself. And so they talk about values as a direction. It's off on the horizon. It is like you imagine like the sun rises in the east. That's where we want to be going. It's like the sun rises in the east, and that's our valued life. It's that direction. And you want to keep orienting yourselves towards your values. It's off on the horizon. We never get there. Like we never are like compassionate 100%. It's like, now I'm compassionate. Now I'm funny. Forever. Like it's not a constant state. And it's always something that we're moving towards. And so it's a kind of, it's a behavioral type of thing. So they, mm-hmm.
Because if you go off if you're aiming,
Mm-hmm.
and you go off
Wait. Hang on one second. We'll give you the mic.
All right. Do we have sailors? Yes. If you're lost in the sailboat, or if you think that magnetic north is true north, all right. you have to check your compass to make sure that you're going to reach your goal.
Yeah.
So your values are your compass to keep you on track. So every time something happens, you check your values. How do I make this decision? What should I do to keep me on this track? So the values are not the goal.
Right, they're not the goal. No.
You said it's on the horizon, like you're always going for that, but it's not. The values is what keeps you on that path, because your value is, I want to be on this path. Your value is, while I'm on the path, I'm going to be compassionate. And while I'm on the path, I'm going to have courage. And while I'm on the path, and this is the path that I take, because there really isn't the goal. The goal is you're going to be a decent person. You know, I have a lot of clients I work with, and they're very aggressive. And they get referred to me because they're beating people up, okay? And they're like, well, I just don't want to live here, or I don't want to work there, or I don't want to sit next to that person, or, you know, whatever. And I tell them, you know, no matter, because a lot of them get emergency placements, and they're in the psych ward a lot. And I said, no matter where you are, you got to be a decent person. So, you know, if you hit people, you know, no matter where you live, you've got to conduct yourself in a certain way, because all these things are out of your control. It's not up to you where you live or where you work, or whatever, but you can choose who you're going to be no matter where you are.
Right.
And if you're a decent person, then all these terrible things won't keep happening. You know, you'll be in less trouble, but it's about who we are. That's always there. It's not the goal.
Right. Yes. And so if it sounded like that, that's not my intention. So, and I think it'll unfold more, because when I'm talking about the valued direction. It is the direction. It's a valued direction. It's the way of orienting ourselves. So it's internal, and I think when I show you this model, it might make more sense. So hang in there with me. I get what you're saying. It's internal, and it's the way the direction you want to go in, right? You want to be the decent person, so your values are inside and your behaviors follow, right? Decisions come from that. Exactly. Exactly. Yes. I'm just maybe not saying that, but I agree. I agree.
Do we have a moment for 2 comments online, Deanna?
Yeah.
Jenny says that she also sees values as the lens we view the world through, and our interactions with others can be affected by our values.
Our interactions can be affected
by our values. Maybe directed would be a better word than affected, I think, is what she's saying. But Rebecca Little shared this awesome quote from Henry David Thoreau. Happiness is like a butterfly. The more you chase it, the more it eludes you. But if you turn your attention to other things, it will come and sit softly on your shoulder.
Nice.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. Beautiful. So we're going to keep unpacking this values idea, and there are a number of exercises to help us do that with our clients, with ourselves, to clarify these things. And I wonder if I need to give more input. So these are links, actually, so you can go to each of these. So there's this obituary exercise. So thinking about death is a good way to understand what matters to us in life. So you can write your own epitaph. And it's really true, you know, if we hold death, and know that we're not here, we're only here for a short amount of time, it really helps put it in perspective. Like, oh, wow, this is not going to be forever. How do I want to live? What's really important to me? What matters? I love this one, Your Values by Franklin Covey. There's a ton of stuff on here. Help you clarify your goals, your personal mission statement, and your values. So I invite you to do this at your own leisure. There's a values task sort by Google Good Work Toolkit. I wonder if I click on these if it'll show you any of these. But this is kind of a value sort. It's like an online card sorting kind of thing. And then there's this Valued Living Questionnaire. This is a collection of ACT resources, acceptance and commitment therapy resources from Russ Harris. He's one of my favorite ACT practitioners. And so when you go to this, you're going to find a ton of information. And within that is this Valued Living Questionnaire. I think I actually put this in your handouts also. And then finally, one of the things, so the way I find people's values is by doing a card sort. So these are beautiful images of this values card sort here. It's a free downloadable values card sort for youth and adults, and they have these really pretty images on them, and you can download those and then print them out. They're free. This is another Australian. This is Louise Hayes. But what I've done for as long as I've been at TCS is I've written values on note cards. So I have index cards that I have values on them, and then we do a card sort. And I ask them, and we go through, and I wish I brought them with me, but they're just words on cards, and so we go and I ask them, what do you want your life to be about? What is your heart's deepest desire? What gets you energized, excited? But my understanding of values and the way I've thought about them and conceptualized them is that if we are living out our values, we're actually energized by them. Like, they juice us. Some are going to fall flat, and then that might not be what is really a value. That might be operating out of a should, or this is like an old parental value or a religious value that doesn't work anymore. But it's really getting at where the energy is how I explain it to folks. Like, what gets you excited? So I take cards. That's awesome. Can you give me a marker also at some point? Sorry, I meant to ask that. So yeah, so cards, yeah, and we just go through them, and I'm like, and they have values on them, like, so things like these things, like authenticity, achievement, adventure, authority. It's like, what gets me excited? I want to be about fame. Yeah, okay, so if that's one of your values that gets you going, how can you be about fame? How can you be famous? Happiness, honesty, humor, influence. So there's all kinds of values. Thank you. No, thank you. So this is just this is what I do to help us get at that with a card sort. And so yeah, it's like yes, no, and we try to get at their top 10 values, and I just write them on a piece of paper. And again, what I say is, what would it be like to wake up every day and to be about these things? Like, that you could choose behaviors, we could set goals. So if you say that adventure is a value of yours, what are some goals that we can do together? Or did I just say that? What are the goals in your life that could increase the use of adventure in your life? Oops, sorry, I keep messing this up. Hang on.
I've got something good to share from Eugenia Benson.
Yay, great.
She said that when she was working in recovery, she had her clients do the obituary exercise with a twist. She challenged them to write what their adult children would write about them for their obituaries.
Yeah.
And she said, it really makes you think, am I living a life that portrays my values?
Yeah. That's wonderful. A more positive spin. I mean, I love the obituary exercise, and you just have to think about how that works with your people. And I love that idea of what your children might think. Another one, and I think I did this at Staff Day last year, was the 80th birthday party. So that's another values thing. Is like, what are the stories you want your family and your friends to be telling about you at your 80th birthday party? Who would be gathered? What would they be saying? How would they be celebrating you? What kind of accomplishments would you have made? How are you in the world, kind of thing? And how would they be celebrating you? So that's another one. So, and I'm sure there are other wonderful ways of getting at this. So Stephen Hayes, who is the founder of Acceptance and Commitment Therapy, talks about in your pain, you'll find your values, and in your values, you'll find your pain. And this was like, thinking about this is like, when we are moving towards that, which is our heart's deepest desire, as soon as we move towards that, there is sometimes pain involved in that. Because, and then what I think what he's talking about is not, it's like there's internal things that come up, like anxiety, fear, doubt comes up. When we are thinking about moving towards being in a loving relationship, sometimes there's pain in that. Like, there's like, oh, as soon as I think about loving someone, what emerges is a thought of heartbreak, our vulnerability, right? That can emerge. And so when we're with our clients and they're talking about their pain and their suffering, chances are there is a loss of value, or there's a loss connected to a value. Like, so there's a loss of relationship, or whatever is important to them is suffering. So if we're feeling pain, then something important to us has probably been lost. And so that gives us clues as we're listening to our clients, like what's really important to them. I see you're suffering in this place, so that must mean, that you really value this relationship with this friend that you're having a fight with. There's something that's important to you about relationships, with friendships. So what's really important? Yeah.
Being in that place is a loss of chance. We're talking about the last stage of development.
So
we talk all the time about how we continue to grow and we continue to learn until we're just not here anymore. But it's hard to feel that when you come to this place where you really feel like you're here to die. And this is
right.
Stop.
Right. I don't know if people have heard Julia. So Julia talked about a loss of place. It was so beautifully said that, I know, try it again, Julia. This is the last stop. She talked about the last stop, and, there is such loss that they experience, and, like, being in a nursing home itself is loss. Yeah. This is it, and, and they don't have a chance to reach the goals or put anything on their bucket list. Okay. So again, when I do values work with my older adults in nursing homes, so we get really small about goals, like what can you do to be kind? So they want to be kind. So, okay, what can you do to be kind? How can you bring kindness to your everyday? Like, you can be kind today. How can you be kind? And to think about where they've been kind. You're probably not going to have that. Well, we know what they're not going to do, but it's like trying to find meaning in these simplest forms. Okay. So here's that epitaph one you can do. So we're going to give you some time. That time is just going here. But I think, how do y'all feel about doing some values work just a little bit? It'll be like a little 6-minute. I'm going to play a song, and you can either do the epitaph experience, or I think what I'll do is I'm going to play a song, and if you again, this is an ongoing process, but just to get the juices flowing, to think for yourself, what really matters to you deep in your heart? What do you want to do with your time on this planet? What sort of person do you want to be? What personal strengths or qualities do you want to develop? And then you can look at them in these 4 domains, is what we talk about, these 4 domains of life. I mean, there are many domains, but these are the ones I try to focus on. And like where it says work and education, what I usually do is like volunteering. I might call it volunteering. Love, self-explanatory, personal growth, health, and then play. So looking at those 4 domains of life to help people think about, how am I going to live in this nursing home and still have a meaningful life? Because you can still do these things. It looks different, but you can still do them. So how do you want to be in these places? Yes. Julia's saying very reality therapy. Yeah. So I'm going to play a song. So I invite you just to take a breather. And it's been a ton of information. So use the next 6 minutes. You can just listen to the song if you want to, because it's a great song by Colin Hay, who I love. And it talks about the horizon. And when we look out into the distance, what do we want our life to be about? And so I invite you to take that piece of paper, people at home, that you got out, and maybe just be a little bit with what your values. Just free write a little bit, what's important to you, what's deep in your heart. You can use these 4 domains if you'd like to reflect on those different areas, and or just pick one and write about that. So, or you can do the epitaph thing. Yeah, you can do whatever you want. I say do whatever works for you. Does this make sense, everybody? Are you good with this? I'm going to try and play this song.
minute now, the ship is coming in. I keep checking the horizon. And I'll stand down the bow and feel the waves come crashing down, down, down on me. And you say, be still, my love. Open up your heart, let the light shine. Don't you understand? I already have a plan. I'm waiting for my real life to begin. I walk today. Suddenly, nothing happened. But in my dream, I slew the dragon down this deep land. Up this cold lane, walking in my own steps once again. And you say, just be here now, forget about the past. Mask is wearing thin. Just let me throw one more dice, and I can win. I'm waiting for my real life to begin. Any minute now, the ship is coming in. I'll keep checking the horizon. Now check my sure to be that cold. Happens soon, soon, oh so very soon. It's just the time to leave, and you say, be still, my love. Open up your heart, let the light shine. Don't you understand? Oh, I already have a plan. I'm waiting for my real life to begin. On a clear day, I can see the own way. On a clear day, I can see.
What? Okay. Well, I hope that was a nice break, however you chose to use that break. Whether that was exploring your values or listening to that song, just breathing. So, any thoughts on that activity? Can you see how you might use some of that? Just, you know, I'm just sharing this is how I use these things. Then another thing, this is the bullseye that we look at, and you can use this. This is great for just for ourselves, like, so if the target is to be living out our values in the center, I'm living fully by my values, or if you're on the outside, I have, I don't know what this says. I'm living outside of my values, or I'm not in touch with my values. So you can look at those 4 domains in your life, and you can kind of plot the points. Like, oh yeah, in work, I'm really living out my values once you have those clarified. Or in play, I am not doing anything connected to my values. And so it can start to be these points of reflection, like really taking stock in our own lives and behaviorally, what are we doing? What are the choices that we're making in my relationships? Am I hitting people? Okay, so what are my behaviors? How are they living out my values? I say I want to be a good person, a decent person, but how am I doing that? How behaviorally am I acting upon those values? So that's the bullseye.
We have a big picture question from Alberta.
Okay.
Does trauma interfere with a person developing these values?
Interesting.
I don't know if that's something in the scope of what you want to talk about or not, but I'm throwing it out there.
Yeah. I don't know. I think when I look at values, it's our heart's deepest desire. I think because I've certainly worked with clients who have trauma. I think people can choose their values still. They might not believe it's possible to live that. That's where the trauma might affect it. I'm just thinking of one client right now. He can certainly choose the life or name what he wants to be about, but then it's really working with him to believe and to build his confidence about his ability to make choices and to take action in line with those values, especially when he has been affected by trauma. So I don't know if that answers it, but...
Yeah, we have one person online who's agreeing with what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And another person who said, yeah, that would affect somebody's ability to develop their values.
Yeah. Well, the values are they're your desires. Mm-hmm. That's the way I look at it, is that your desires.
Yeah. And Barbara Stickle says, yes, because their belief in themselves will have been harmed.
Right.
In the belief, right, trust is what Julia Groh was saying.
Yeah.
Jacqueline Rose says, many of my kiddos are living in chaos caused by parental AOD use. They are waiting for their lives to begin. As soon as dad gets out of prison, quote unquote, as soon as my dad comes to get me. He said he'd come this weekend. So people internalize that stuff is what I think what we're all kind of collectively saying is that trauma can get internalized.
Sure.
And that will affect our ability or beliefs about our values, I guess.
Right. And can you give her that? I'm like,
if you think within the context of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs,
mm-hmm.
and even William Glasser,
mm-hmm.
who's got new brain needs, which is kind of what these are like, and you can't get these needs met, food, shelter, water, safety. It's hard to get there. It's hard to think about these things when you can't even get basic.
Right.
You can't get here on the lower level of the triangle.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And Patricia Beach says, trauma may be the very thing that helps a person figure out what their values truly are.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's important maybe to think about, is this a child experiencing the trauma, or is this someone as an adult whose personality has developed?
Right.
That might be an important variable.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be different for kids than adults.
Right. They're all... If you can... Julia's saying that can be a true sign of healing, if you can go through the trauma and still choose your values or even believe or open up to a different way or have a vision for your life, I think. Maybe.
Yeah, Sophia says trauma hits our self-efficacy, how we do thing, how we view the world. This is why we help them engage in passion, purpose, and play.
Mm-hmm. Nice. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to run out of time. So this is just another thing. Like, I know. I know. Again, here's another. This is something you can use the worksheet to work out some of these values. Yeah. Okay. Well, in the ACT model, golly, I don't know what to cover. So we've got the ACT model and we've got compassion practices. So have you been? This is it, right? This is what you've been waiting for. Okay, so this we'll go through. We might not go into major depth in all these areas. So ACT is, they are focused, like I said, on the rich and meaningful life. They're like, well, how do you find meaning and purpose in your life? That's the question. They are not so much about happiness. They think if you move towards rich and meaningful, you're going to have moments of happiness. But they talk about what's really important. It's a behavioral model. It's called a third wave CBT model. So it's kind of along with mindfulness-based stress reduction. It's along the same lines as dialectical behavior therapy. They kind of are cousins. They hang out together. And it's utilized in a number of areas: depression, anxiety, pain management, schizophrenia, addiction, personality disorders, probably some challenges with brain trauma, I think, and it does some funny things with language. So, but one of the things that you can pick and choose from this model. So there are elements that you can choose and integrate into whatever theoretical orientation you're using. So I think that's one thing, that it's adaptable, or you can use it all, but there are certain pieces that you might be able to find that make sense to you. Because I certainly don't use it, every piece of it, with every client. But it just helps me to make sense of what I'm viewing. But the acronym for ACT is accept your thoughts and feelings and be present. Choose a valued direction and take the action. So that's kind of what we're looking at. So it is a behavior model. It's like, okay, well, these are my values. What they focus on are two major goals: is to accept unwanted private experiences which are out of our personal control. So this is where it shifts. Like in CBT, it's like it's not so much about alleviating symptoms. It's actually about holding them in a different way. It's not about getting rid of anxiety, not getting rid of depression. It's like acting. So it's not avoiding those experiences. So they talk about the more we push away those thoughts, those feelings, the more they come back. Like what you resist persists. And it's like we spend so much energy and so much time getting rid of the sadness. Like, I don't want to be sad, I don't want to be sad. But they kind of look at, well, can you be sad and still live out your values? Can you be sad and still hug a baby? Can you be sad and talk with your friend? It's like, can you hold your feelings, thoughts, whatever's going on internally, and still act in your chosen valued direction? So that's a shift. And instead of changing thoughts, like what CBT would do, they would just ask, are the thoughts, do they work for you? If they do, if they're workable thoughts and they help you move in the value direction that you're wanting to live, then great. You can have those thoughts move you forward. But if not, the idea is that you just let your thoughts be thoughts, and you don't buy into the story. So that's part of it. It's just not buying into the story. And they look at all thoughts as a story. And they won't get into debate whether they're true, whether they're false. It's just like they're thoughts. Can you still hug a baby if that's your value? Can you still be in relationship, whether you're having the thoughts or not? I'm going to come back to that. I'm just going to kind of go through these things. 6 core processes of ACT are self as contact with the present moment, acceptance, diffusion, values, and committed action. So I'll also say that in your packet there was ACT Made Simple. It's the first 2 chapters of a book by Russ Hudson, so you'll get this, and it's a fabulous, if you're interested in learning more about this, that's a fabulous primer to get you thinking about it. So all of these ACT processes work together to increase psychological flexibility. And so this kind of is in a nutshell what ACT does also. And so I'm going to try and play this video, and hopefully y'all can hear this and see this and make sense of this.
This is a story of human motivation. Humans are motivated equally in two directions. We don't want and to move towards things we do. This is a jolly good idea. It's a particularly good idea for things happening in the external. But then humans invented language. We developed words for things, including things happening in our internal lives, like thoughts and emotions. And then we apply the same rules. Being classified difficult feelings like anxiety, doubt, and uncertainty as things to move away from. And emotions like happiness, excitement, and relief as things to move toward. And then think about the early days or moments. This is a trap.
Everybody who's logged. So okay, sorry about that, folks online. So what we're going to do is, when Deanna has a minute to catch her breath, like maybe tomorrow, first thing in the morning, bright and early, she's going to make us a resource list of all the links and stuff like that, because a lot of people are saying that even through GoToWebinar, when they tried to open the PowerPoint, it wasn't working.
Oh, really?
So I'm going to email it out to everyone with all the other materials tomorrow as a PDF. And then, so if you can just supplement that, send out a list of resources either to me or, to...
All those ones that I sent you?
No, like the links, like all the links that are in the PowerPoint. That way, when people have the PowerPoint as a PDF, they have the actual links to complement it.
Got it. Okay.
I hope so. That's what we're going to do. People online seem to like this idea.
Okay.
So, yeah, sorry about that, everybody.
Thanks, everybody, for being so patient. Right. You can find me. So, okay, so I'm going to try really hard to focus on these different areas. That video was, I think we'll come back to the video, what it was trying to explain. But the 6 core processes, the first one is to be present. So every clinician can do this. I'm not going to play this video. I'm done with videos, okay? But what you would have seen here are some doctors being really present and playing and dancing with some cancer. Okay. Okay, this one might come across. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna play it. No sound. I think that's it. I think they've stopped operating, and now Shakira is singing "This Moment" right now. Is what she's singing. Yeah. No. smiling. No, I mean, not making me happy.
So clearly what we're taking away from this, that everybody in this video is very happy and they're dancing.
And they're living with their purpose and some passion and being present. They're showing up.
All of it. All of it.
Oy. Okay, that's enough. Stephanie says that's enough. So we're going to move on. I'll send you the link and then you can watch this in real life and then, cry about it. So anyway, contacting the present moment. So this is how do we be present with our clients, with ourselves. Conscious awareness of your experience in the present moment enables you to perceive accurately what is happening. So like to really tune in. So this is where you can do some body mindfulness type things, like getting present in the moment, like feeling your feet on the floor and rocking back and forth as kind of a grounding kind of thing. Breathing techniques, this is where these would be. One technique we do is noticing 5 things you can hear. So if you get caught up in your thoughts, if you notice that you're getting caught up in the story that your thoughts are naming, one thing that I invite my clients to do is to name 5 things you can hear, 5 things you can see, 5 things you can feel right now. Again, this is to give people contact with the present moment because our stories take us out. We're either in the past or the future. So when we get in the present moment, we can make conscious choices. But if we're all up here and in our head or in our feelings too much, then we can lose sight of what's happening right now. So it allows you to engage fully in what you are doing. So that's one process, is staying in the present moment. The other thing that they use, and this is in mindfulness practices, is the self as context, or the observing self. It's that aspect of us that is aware of whatever we're thinking, feeling, sensing, or doing in any moment. So like right now, you can be like, oh my gosh, you can notice your thoughts. Is this almost over? I can notice my own anxiety. Am I tired? I'm a little bit fatigued. So I'm noticing that as I'm talking. I'm wondering, how's everybody doing? I hope everybody's okay. So I'm noticing my thoughts. Another term for it is pure awareness. So it's that observing self who notices, who's noticing the noticing. Let's see. So it's consciously bringing awareness to your here and now experience with openness, interest, and receptivity. That's kind of what mindfulness is, and that's what this is about. So ACT has some fun metaphors that they kind of shift your thinking and help you think about things. This is just a nice metaphor that I like to use, the chessboard metaphor, and talk about like your thoughts and your feelings are the pieces, and like and you could do either one, like the black ones are the scary, negative thoughts, feelings, and the white ones are the good ones. I mean, you could go flip those also. But they're kind of like battling each other, like the good thoughts want to overtake the bad thoughts, and I'm really good at this. No, you're not really good at this. Like they're warring with each other. And so we talk about those things can be happening, and then the observing self is the chessboard. It's the constant. It's the thing that's steady and present. And so what you want your clients to identify with, what you want to identify with, is not being the chess pieces, not getting caught up in those warring thoughts and feelings, but being the one who's observing that chessboard that's steady, that's constant, that always is. So that's kind of a ACT thing. So be present was Act 1. Act 2 is open up. And so this is where things get interesting in ACT. So acceptance seems like a normal thing that we want to work on, is accepting. And so this is just a nice quote. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows. And so acceptance means opening up, making room for painful feelings, sensations, urges, and emotions. It's like opening up to all that you're experiencing and not trying to push it away. You don't have to like it, but the idea is to not waste your energy on resisting it. Like, how do you just hold it, be with it, not get caught up in it, instead of fighting all these things? Resisting them, running from them, or getting overwhelmed by them, we open up to them and we let them be. And again, you can say you don't have to like it, want it, or approve of it, You just simply allow it to be there, give it permission to be where it is already, let go of struggling with it, because what ACT talks about, it's the struggle with thoughts and feelings that really cause increased suffering. Like if we keep trying to push away the sadness, keep avoiding the sadness, and then people act out and, like I don't want to feel this pain, so I'm going to run from my pain, I'm going to narc out, I'm going to take drugs, I'm going to use alcohol, I'm going to be so busy that I can't sit, I can't function anymore just to avoid this pain, which then creates more suffering. So we work with that. Stop fighting with it, make peace with it, make room for it. Let's see. Okay. So this is just a quick steps to emotional acceptance. Like you can practice this yourself with your clients, just observe, bring your awareness to your feelings, your body. These are mindfulness practices. So you can read that. This is also in this acceptance area is where I'd bring in self-compassion practices, which I think self-compassion practices are awesome. They're like it's something that I go to often with myself and with my clients, and I think it ties in nicely with the ACT stuff. Stephen Hayes says that the only value explicit in all of ACT is compassion. So in the ACT model, he says the only value is compassion. And so I think it flows through all of these processes, is compassion for ourselves and compassion for our clients. And wow, there's just not time to explain this, but diffusion. So the idea is we get fused with thoughts. So I'll talk to my clients about, so you're having the thought that I'm not enough. So what happens is you become so identified with that thought, it's like you're one with that thought. It's like two sheets of metal welded together. And the idea is we become so fused with that thought that there's no space for anything else. And so we keep acting out of this thought, I'm not enough, I'm not enough. And so that's what I believe, that's the statement that's true. It must be true because I'm having the thought, so it must be reality. And so the idea is, again, in ACT, it's not to guess, is it true or not true? It's just, how does that thought help you take valued action? So the idea is, instead of like this two sheets of metal together, we want to create some space between the thought and that inner observing self. An activity that I might do to help explain diffusion is you can use your hands as and you can try this if you want to. You can try this. We'll try this together. So people at home, if you want to try this, is you take your hands and you put them like they're a book, and you open your hands. And inside, so I want you to imagine in your hands are all the thoughts, feelings that you've been trying to get rid of, the negative ones, the ones that keep you from moving in your valued way of life, that keep you from behaving. So these are like the I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, people don't like me, whatever your habitual pattern is that keeps you stopped. And so it's like, it's the anxiety, it's the fear, it's the doubt, it's the sadness, it's the depression, it's just all of that heaviness, that negativity. I don't want to even say negativity, but it's the stuff that keeps you stuck. Maybe that's it. It's the stuff that keeps you stuck. So what happens in fusion, you can raise your hands and put them in front of your face. So fusion is this. Fusion is now people in the room and people at home. You probably can't see your computer anymore. Are you engaged in the world? Can you see the world? Can you see me? It's hard to even take in your world because you're so caught up in these thoughts and these feelings. They're taking up all the space. So what would you like to do? Most people would say, I would like to move my hands down and create some space. So that is diffusion, creating space around the thought. So fusion, I'm totally buying into the story that I am not good enough. And I'm like here, and I can't hug a baby. I can't interact in the world in a meaningful way because I'm so stuck here. And so you can feel that, like when I am lost, I'll just say, when I am lost in my thoughts, it's like I am not aware. I'm not aware of the people that I love around me. Like you can be sitting right next to me on the couch, but I am not here. I'm like here. I'm like, I am so caught up in the storyline that I can't be in relationship in the way that I value, in the way that I want to show up in the world. So if I can catch my thoughts, if I can notice them, like I'm having the thought that I'm not enough, that right there, that statement can create some space. As long as we can notice it, that can create the space that we need to move toward, to take the action toward that which we want. So, and it takes practice. It takes work to do that. But again, it's just opening up to recognizing that there's thoughts and feelings happening and then taking action towards that, and whatever that action might be, toward that valued way of being. Guest House is a great poem by Rumi, which I think speaks to diffusion. And it's welcoming everything in. Again, it's not resisting anything. Stephanie's asking that I read it, so I will. I could sing it to you. Yeah, this is one of my favorite poems, and I think this speaks so much also of compassion and how we can be with ourselves. So, the guest house. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. So it's a lovely poem, and I think that speaks to diffusion. It's like it's really about opening up to all that's happening internally without judgment. That's the key. It's like that judgment piece. It's just allowing things to be as they are. And because it's when we judge and evaluate and compare, and that's when things really start to struggle. We start to struggle even more and create more suffering for ourselves. So that's diffusion. I would do a meditation with you, but I'm not going to. So we were present, we opened up, and now we do what matters. So this is where we do what matters. And this is where you take committed action. So commit to action that enriches and improves your life. Clarify what is meaningful, important to you, i.e. your values. So I love this model, and this is kind of what I was getting at, like this choice point model, and like I would put it up on this board. So I do this with my clients. There's this great diffusion technique called passengers on the bus. And so what I'll do with my clients is I just sit with them and we do this, I don't know if you can see me with that camera, but can you see my thing? So I draw my bus and I say, this is your mind, and you are driving your bus towards your valued life. You're moving this way. You want to move this way because this is where life is beautiful. This is like that valued direction, the horizon, that place where, so my values are creativity, compassion, whatever. I write all their values: compassion, presence, authenticity, humor. This is what I want to be about. This is the life that I want to move towards, right? And but then, so I'm driving my bus and I'm going along and I'm like, yeah, I want to move that way. I want to go to the east and I set some goals. Like those are the signs along the way, like little stop signs. So my goals are, so like to be more creative, I want to play my guitar every night. That's a goal. So that's my guitar goal right here. So that's a goal. That's a stop along the way. My values are out that way, and that's my direction I want to go to. So I'm going along, and I'm like, I want to play my guitar. That's the goal. And so I'm really excited about this goal, but then all of a sudden, maybe I'll make it even more extreme. I want to play my guitar out in public at a coffee shop. Oh my gosh. I want to play my guitar in front of people at a coffee shop? Holy crap. So this is me. And then all of a sudden, doubt comes in, and this is one of my passengers on my bus. So this is my mind, and my passengers are all the thoughts, feelings, and sensations that go to me. This is the pain that Stephen Hayes was talking about, the pain that comes up when I think about when I'm actually moving towards, so I'm actually playing at a coffee shop, and I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, next weekend if you want to come. But so what comes up for me is a ton of anxiety, but I love playing guitar. I love creating. And so it's in my values to do this, to take action towards it. So what comes up for me? Doubt. Not good enough. Feelings of anxiety, panic. These things come up inside of me. So what happens if I listen to these passengers? So I ask my clients, what happens if you listen to these passengers on your bus? Well, they're like, I would start talking to them, right? And you try to get them to be quiet, like, don't feel the anxiety, stop it. You try to calm yourself. Maybe I'd give up on the goal. If I listen to these passengers, chances are I move away from that valued I start taking, I'm like, I'm going to cancel my gig. I'm not going to do this. I can't do it because all the passengers in my head have told me that I'm going to have a panic attack up there, you know? But if I can keep taking step by step, you know, what do I, aligning with my values, reminding myself, these are just thoughts, these are just feelings, you know I have skills, and then I move towards and I take action towards that which I want. So that's kind of the ACT model that I try to do with most clients, and they really get the passengers on the bus thing. It's a way, again, to diffuse your thoughts and your feelings. It's to create some space around those. And we have like 2 minutes, and compassion's great. Self-compassion is awesome. Kristen Neb, Chris Germer, they're fabulous. Yeah. Yeah. I have 1 minute. I mean, I could quickly, I don't know, are there any thoughts out there? Any thoughts in here? It's a ton. We need part two. I know. Yeah. Yeah, you can part two. Okay, so I think I did way more than I think this, as we can tell, this 2 hours could hold. But thank you, everyone, for your time and attention, and hopefully we'll keep exploring these things.
Yes, thank you, Deanna. Everybody online is saying thank you. Excellent presentation. So you're going to get us the resource list when you can, and then I'll email it to everybody. Also, everybody who's logged in online, you should have your evaluation form in your counseling source email. So this is important. Everybody listen, who's in the room and online. Something really wacky is happening with the census tracker program that we use to like record attendance. Don't worry if you don't get your certificate promptly, like always. I will work on this. I don't know what the heck is going on. So everybody send in your eval forms, but don't panic if you don't get your certificates right away. So thank you, everybody. And what, Stephanie? Yes, I have a list. I have checked it twice. Everybody will get credit. It just might take me longer than normal. So thank you, everybody. I'm ending the webinar. Follow up with Deanna if you have questions. Have a wonderful evening.